Hello, everyone tuning in from every corner of the Celtic world. And honestly, what a time it is to be following this team. There's a real charge in the air around the club these days. That sense that something's brewing, that something big might be just around the corner. And suddenly, every wee detail feels like it carries extra weight. And over the last day or so, the whole chat has naturally been centered on Wilfried Nancy and the interview he gave, one that finally seemed to show a clearer glimpse of who he is and what he's aiming to build here. There was something about his manner, that mix of calm authority with a quiet confidence, that suits a manager stepping into a demanding environment like ours. He wasn't cocky, he wasn't showy, he just came across like a man who knows what he's doing and knows how he wants to get there. And that kind of presence spreads quickly through a squad. When he spoke about the chaos from Sunday, he didn't waste time on wee dramas or off-pitch noise. He was straight in, saying he can't control what people say and he's not about to waste energy trying. His attention is fixed entirely on the work, on shaping this team into the best version of itself on the pitch. And when the conversation turned to the importance of tonight's European match, you could hear in his voice that he respects the occasion, but he's not intimidated by it. He reminded everyone that he's coached in continental finals, that he knows the weight of big moments, and that experience gives him the calm he needs to guide the squad on nights like this. Seeing that kind of composure is refreshing because it sends a clear message to the players. There's a plan here, there's belief, and there's someone steering the ship who isn't rattled by a bit of rough water. One of the more interesting parts of what he said was his explanation of what really matters in his style of play. While folk keep arguing about whether he'll use 3 at the back, 4 at the back, 5 in midfield, whatever it may be, he made it clear that the real foundation of his football is in the principles. How the players relate to each other on the pitch, how they press, how they move together, how they drag opponents out of shape. The numbers on a tactics board aren't the heart of it. They're just a starting point. What he wants is a team that can think, interpret, and adapt. A team that moves as one, like something alive. Even when he talks about ideas, you get the impression he knows exactly what he's trying to instill, and he's fully committed to it. Another strong moment was when he described himself as more of a leader than a coach, not in a pompous way, but in the sense that he understands the full context he's stepping into. He recognizes the magnitude of the job. He knows he needs to blend conviction with realism, and he's fully prepared to face adversity head-on. He spoke a lot about coherence and humility, repeating those 2 words again and again, and they reveal the kind of culture he wants to create. Coherence to him means staying clear and consistent in what he asks of the players so they always know what the aim is and how to execute it. Humility means understanding the challenges without losing ambition, staying grounded while working towards something bigger. It sounds simple, but across a long, emotional, demanding season, it ends up being vital. And speaking of things that make a difference, the news that had supporters buzzing today was the possibility of Kelechi Iheanacho being available again tonight. After missing so many games, the idea of him stepping back onto the pitch, even if only for a short spell, feels massive. His long absence made some folk forget just how much quality he can bring, and maybe because he came in under the previous manager, others assumed he'd fade into the background now, but Iheanacho offers something unique within this squad. Think back to that finish in Belgrade, the calmness, the composure. It showed the kind of striker who can decide a moment when the chance comes. Yet, it's not just the goals. In He holds the ball well, links play brilliantly, and helps create gaps that other forwards don't naturally generate. In a fluid system like the one Nancy seems keen to build, that ability to connect the team could be crucial, even if he plays only 10 or 15 minutes. Simply having him as an option changes how the second half can be managed. It's a tool we've been missing for weeks, and in a match as tough as tonight's, every option matters. As for the likely starting 11, everything points to the structure staying the same. The manager appears happy with the framework of the team, and he'll probably prefer stability while the players continue adjusting to his methods. The biggest question is whether he'll make any personnel changes, but going off what we saw at the weekend, it doesn't feel like many are coming. A lot of supporters were surprised he only made 2 substitutions, and maybe that means that right now he trusts the starters more than the bench options. That might change with time, but at this moment, it seems to be the reality. None of that changes the scale of the challenge tonight, though. The opposition arrived with a loaded squad, packed with internationals, players from major leagues, and individuals who can turn a match in a heartbeat. Facing a midfield filled with experienced internationals is no easy task, and throwing someone like Dybala into the mix, well, you don't need an introduction there. And what makes it even more intriguing is that both sides are likely to mirror each other with the same shape. That's rare, and it could make the game incredibly tactical, full of tight battles and rapid-fire decisions. Their bench is just as strong, even with a couple of absences. They've got pace, experience, and completely different profiles to change a match whenever they choose. So it's not just about dealing with their starting 11. It's about weathering whatever they throw on in the second half too. In Europe, one lapse can cost everything. Even with all that considered, there's still reason to believe Celtic can make life difficult for them tonight. The Europa League tends to be more unpredictable, more chaotic, and that opens doors. We've seen Celtic turn doubters into believers before, and nights like this, with a full stadium, roaring support, a team with a point to prove, often produce moments you don't forget. The defense is still something to keep an eye on, especially with the adjustments and new roles being learned, but there's enough attacking potential to cause them problems. Celtic Park will be bouncing, the atmosphere will be electric, and the pressure of the group stage only adds more weight to what's at stake. And with 7 points so far, every additional point is golden. 10 or 11 points will likely see us through, so every match from here on out matters. A win tonight would be outstanding, a draw wouldn't be a disaster, and even a strong performance could build confidence for the next fixtures. And considering the opposition have lost their last 2 games, maybe there's a bit of vulnerability there waiting to be exploited. The key is starting brave, starting sharp, and not shying away from the size of the contest. As we move further into this journey, you can almost feel the pulse of the club picking up pace. Nights like this are more than fixtures on a calendar. They're markers in a season, moments that shape belief, confidence, and sometimes even identity. And as the hours go by, the sense grows that Celtic aren't just stepping into another European match. They're stepping into a test of character. Every player, every decision, every reaction counts. It's the sort of night where you learn who's ready to rise, who's learning to carry weight, and who's starting to understand what this badge truly demands. There's something special in the air, something that feels like a mixture of nerves, hope, and pure footballing adrenaline. What stands out most, especially after hearing Nancy speak so calmly and clearly, is how much trust he puts in the group. It's not forced, it's not theatrical, it's the kind of trust that comes from work on the training ground, from conversations, from little details that most of us never see. When he talks about principles, connection, and the ability to interpret the game, it's not abstract. You can tell he's trying to build players who don't just follow instructions, but understand them deeply. And for a club like Celtic, where every season brings new waves of pressure, injuries, expectations, and emotional storms, having a manager who values clarity and composure might be more important than any individual signing. A point he made, one that deserves more attention, is how a system is only as strong as the relationships within it. Supporters often argue over shapes. Is it a back three? Is it a four? Is it a five? Does the holding midfielder drop? Does the fullback invert? Does the winger tuck in? But Nancy seems to see beyond the chalkboard. To him, structure matters, but it is nothing without understanding. When players know how to read each other, how to adjust a meter here or a half second there, the team becomes more than the sum of its parts. That's what he's pushing for, not rigid patterns, living ones, movements that breathe with the game, not against it. And while that takes time, you can already sense some players starting to adapt. Some look freer with the ball, others more attentive without it. You see midfielders drifting into pockets they wouldn't have dared touch a month ago, defenders stepping into zones with a confidence that suggests they're not just following instructions, they're recognizing possibilities. It's still early. Of course, no one transforms overnight, but seeds have clearly been planted. And if they grow the way the manager imagines, this team could end up much more fluid, much more unpredictable, much more difficult to pin down. But the real fascination comes from how these ideas will hold up against a team drenched in European pedigree. And tonight's opponent isn't just technically strong, they're structured, experienced, and full of players who know how to punish the smallest hesitation. Their midfield trio in particular can dictate the rhythm of a match with frightening precision, and their forward line mixes flair with ruthlessness. You give them space, they dance. You press without timing, they slice you open. Celtic will need intensity, yes, but intelligent intensity. Pressing without purpose will only invite danger. The team must stay compact, stay brave, stay switched on. The supporters, of course, know all this. That's why there's a certain edge in the air, a sharpness to the anticipation. Celtic Park on a European night is a force of nature. Everybody knows it. Players feel the vibration long before kickoff, and even the toughest opponents, the ones with Champions League scars and international resumes, have been rattled by the noise, by the closeness of the stands, by the feeling that the whole world narrows into this cauldron of green and white. Nancy himself said something subtly important. He wants the players to feed off the crowd, but not become consumed by it. Emotion is an engine, not a driver. Use it, but don't lose control. One of the more delicate aspects of tonight is squad balance. Celtic's bench, for all its potential, doesn't yet have the same level of trust from the manager as the starting group. That much was obvious when only 2 substitutions were made at the weekend. It wasn't a criticism of the players left unused. It was simply a reflection of where the team is in its transition. When someone like Iheanacho becomes available again, even if only for a fraction of the match, the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, there's an option who can hold the ball, spin defenders, or finish calmly under pressure. Those few minutes could be decisive, especially against opponents who tire late or push too high. There's also the question of rhythm. Some players have been playing heavy minutes, carrying the load, adapting to new demands without much respite. Fatigue doesn't always show in the legs first. Sometimes it shows in decision-making, in reaction time, in the split-second instinct that top-level football requires. Nancy seems aware of this, but he's also realistic. You don't rotate for the sake of rotating in a match of this magnitude. You rotate when you believe someone can come in and keep the standard high. That's the challenge for the bench, to convince him they're ready. Looking at the opponent, their recent losses add a layer of unpredictability. Are they wobbling? Are they angry? Are they motivated to respond? Teams with that level of quality rarely collapse. More often, they refocus. Celtic must be prepared for an opponent with urgency, not complacency, and that makes the first 15 minutes absolutely crucial. This is when nerves either settle or spiral. It's when the crowd's roar can either fuel momentum or feed frustration. Celtic need to start sharp, with pace and bravery, showing they're not intimidated by the reputation across from them. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans in what can only be described as a bombshell in the Scottish Premiership. Whispers have been circling for hours about an audacious move by Celtic FC. The Hoops, always hungry for the limelight, are reportedly closing in on not one, but two high-profile signings, a development that has left fans and rivals alike in stunned disbelief. Sources close to the club hint that these aren't your run-of-the-mill acquisitions. We're talking about players whose very names carry weight across European football. The corridors of Parkhead have been buzzing, with staff barely able to contain the excitement as news of the double swoop began to leak. Insiders suggest that the negotiations were swift and remarkably secretive, with both players drawn not only by Celtic's illustrious history, but also by the ambitious vision shaping the club's immediate future. Social media has erupted as supporters scrambled to speculate on who the mystery stars might be. Could it be a marquee forward known for a prolific goal-scoring record, or perhaps a midfield maestro who dominates the center of the park? The speculation is rife, and each theory seems wilder than the last. What's particularly fascinating is the timing. While rivals are still tinkering with squads, Celtic appears to have orchestrated these moves with surgical precision, leaving even seasoned transfer experts scratching their heads. The sheer audacity of swooping for two headline-grabbing talents simultaneously has reignited debates across fan forums, with some predicting the Hoops are on the verge of assembling a squad capable of shaking up Scottish football entirely. And meanwhile, insiders claim the duo have already been pictured arriving discreetly in Glasgow, though nothing official has yet been confirmed by the club. Fans are naturally losing patience, with chants of speculation echoing across social channels. The rumor mill shows no signs of slowing down as pundits weigh in with guesses, insider stories, and naturally, a healthy dose of hyperbole. If true, this double signing could mark a turning point for Celtic, signaling an aggressive push not just domestically, but also in Europe. One thing's certain, whatever the full story turns out to be, the footballing world has its eyes firmly on Parkhead, and the gossip is spreading like wildfire. Keep your eyes peeled. This is shaping up to be a transfer saga that will dominate conversations for weeks to come. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.